3-0 it finishes in that first leg semi-final. Frank Leboeuf is with us. However, Craig, often when Manchester United have a win, and a big win like this, the fans ask, where's Craig today? Why isn't he in today? Well, here he is. Here he is to talk about Manchester United getting a big win in Europe.
Well, we're going to talk about United, we're going to talk about Tottenham, 14th and 16th in the Premier League, pulling off a couple of big victories, particularly this one in Bilbao against Athletic Club, in a great stadium with a hostile atmosphere against the fourth best team in Spain, a very good side against a very poor side. And it's a huge night for Man United, and some great performances. Obviously, the red card's a turning point. Before that, you know, United had the ball in the net, it was offside, and then Athletic Club dominated, and you thought, right, this is kind of going to go one way. Can they finish off in the final third and be clinical? They were not, and then they got punished, and then obviously the big call for the red card just changed the narrative of the game. The one thing I would say is I've seen enough of United this season to know that at 3-0, I don't think this game is over. I don't think this tie is over. But Athletic Club have got a lot of work to do, because if they lose to Man United over two legs, that's embarrassing for them, because this is a very, very poor Man United side. So a lot of work to do. I don't think it's quite over yet if Athletic Club play the way we know they can play. But it's a big mountain to climb, and a great night for Manchester United.
Now, obviously, it's never easy to go a man down, but as Craig's saying, this is an Athletic Club that we look at them and we know they're usually a well-organised side, they're a trustworthy side, they don't make big mistakes, and that's why they are where they are. Tonight just wasn't their night, Ale.
You know, we show the intensity of the fans leading up to the match, and the environment and the electricity, and sometimes a big crowd like that, a big moment like that, you feel elevated by that crowd. But there are also times in which you almost get too excited as a player. And that's the sense that I got from Athletic Club. They were excited by the moment, but they couldn't quite calm down to then play the match, play the game, allow the game to come to them, where you can find a pass, when you can make a decision, when you can see the full picture in the final third, when you can execute in the final third, which they did not do. Iñaki Williams was so excited to get in behind and to go and finish a chance, and he doesn't. Alex Berenguer, the ball falls to him on top of the 18-yard box, and everybody's scrambling from Manchester United. It's just about passing into the back of the net. Let me smash it into the back of the net. And it's all that excitement that you feel as San Mamés that I think played against Athletic Club today. And some of that had to do with some of the reckless fouling and some of the challenges. And Danny Vivian got himself out of position a couple of times. And he is the one that ends up grabbing Højlund from behind. And then at that point, once the red card happens, everything changed. Everything changed, obviously, for Manchester United, but everything changed for Athletic Club. And they couldn't quite organize themselves. While they were trying to figure out, okay, fine, it's 2-0. We're men down. What are some of the changes that we need to make? And Valverde hadn't even made the changes when they were already giving up a third goal. And that puts it, in my opinion, beyond doubt, because I just don't think that Athletic Club, while they are a good team, while they have been good in La Liga, they're not explosive in the attack. And in order to score 3 goals away from home, you have to be explosive. They were not explosive today, and I don't think they'll be explosive next week either.
And just before that red card and penalty, Frank, I know you love a bit of controversy. There was the potential handball, Alejandro Garnacho. What did you make of that moment? What did you think of it?
Really? You know, football is an entertainment, and when you see the referee too many times for too long and being in the center of the attention, there is something wrong. And this is what happened today. I mean, great atmosphere, everybody was expecting a great game, and we had 30 minutes of a great game. Because after, nothing to blame on Manchester United. They did what they had to do, but the referee changed the game, the people in the VAR changed the game for no reason, because there was a simple handball. That was easy to see, that was easy to signal, and they didn't do that. That's a shame. That's a real shame. We're talking about semi-final of the Europa League. I always thought when I was a player, I don't want to lose because of a bad referee decision. That's a real bad referee decision. That's unfortunate for Atletico Bilbao fans and players.
But they have the best defensive record in Spanish football at the moment. Could have shut up shop. We nick one on the counter. As soon as the red card happens, make the changes. readjust, camp in. Could you score 2 at Old Trafford? And we could look back at Man United's fixtures this season and look at teams that have scored 2 or more at Old Trafford. I bet there's quite a few who aren't as good as Athletic Club. But they left themselves open to actually losing 4 or 5, which they could easily have done in the end. I know they were missing Sunset, who's one of the most prolific attacking goal-scoring midfielders in Spain, and he was injured and all of that. But they just were too open after they went down to 10 men. It's not a disaster. Yeah, in terms of making it a head-to-head and, making it a football match, it makes it difficult. But defensively, we've seen many, many teams over the years lose a man quite early and be difficult to break down and difficult to beat. Unfortunately for Athletic Club, they will not, and they will have to be in Manchester, and they will have to be a lot better going forward. I would imagine, is it Sandy, the front man? Sanadi. Imagine he'll be lucky to see a blade of grass at Old Trafford with his performance tonight, even before there was a red card.
It was a surprise, though. Everybody picked Athletic yesterday going into this game. Everybody thought it would be them, and you can understand why everybody thought it would be them.
So why did you think it was a surprise then?
No, it's a surprise, this result.
Well, no, yes. Look, when we make these predictions, which we're asked to do seemingly on a daily basis, we have to take into consideration what we have seen from Manchester United. And it's impossible to ignore what they have been this whole season. And while people may focus on, well, look what they did against Lyon. Well, it was a great comeback, but they were playing against 10 men. And they put themselves in the situation in which they did. Eventually, they found a way back, and eventually they had that magical moment, and they get through onto the semifinals. But it's not like they were in full control of what was happening. When you look at Athletic Club and you think about what some of the things that they do well, they can press higher the field, and they have intensity, and they have energy, and they have the crowd, and they have momentum, and they have the motivation of Europa League final is going to be played in San Mamés, which would be a home match for Athletic Club. All of that is coming into play, and you're thinking, you are 2-2, and you go, yeah, equals 4. It feels like Athletic Club is a superior side to Manchester United. But what I would say about Manchester United today is that today, while all of that was going on in the stadium, they were very good about sticking to what they were today. And a counter-attacking team early on when the match was 11v11. And then beyond that, very efficient, very effective. Always dangerous through Garnacho. Always danger when Bruno Fernandes is getting the ball in transition and he's finding the outlet and he's finding passes. Højlund, while he doesn't score a goal, but throws his body around and makes himself a physical presence and was, to some degree, goal dangers, and so much so that Danny Vivian has to take him down. There are certain things that Manchester United did very well today. Casemiro was really good. Ugarte was really good. But we haven't always seen this from Manchester United. So then I imagine that Manchester United are sitting in front of the TV saying, I told you so. Told you what? This is a team that has struggled over the course of the season time and time again. But today, they happened to get it right, and it also coincided with Athletic Club not playing at the highest level, and it also coincided with a red card. They took advantage of it, good on Manchester United, and now they have to see it out at home.
2 things we do know, Frank. Manchester United in this competition, unbeaten in the Europa League, and Bruno Fernandes once again leading by example.
Yes, great game from him. But you have to add, as Ali said, Casemiro and Ugarte in the middle of the park doing the job and being very efficient as well. But that's another Manchester United. Again, you have to take some aspect of the game, so we change and went to the favors of Manchester United. But they've done what they had to do. They've been committed at the beginning, even if, again, Berenguer and Inaki Williams should have scored the goal, and I think it would have been a different game, totally different game. But it's part of football, and it's part of the game. They fought hard, and they believe in their chances, and they had what they deserve. I mean, they fought hard, and as Craig said, they could have won 5-0 today. So nothing to complain about Manchester United today, nothing to be critical about. They did what they had to do, but of course, that wasn't expected at all. And the scenario of the game is completely different from what we were expecting as well. So it's a very nice game, very good game from Manchester United. But we're not going against our predictions because normally it should have been a different game.
Oh, we'll see.
The one thing I would say is, though, in terms of the second leg, I know they put Leon out, but if memory serves me right, United at Old Trafford, and this is how vulnerable teams can be, particularly ones that have struggled this season. United were 2-0 up against Leon, then it was 2-2, then it was 4-2. They were out. They did come back. I mean, a magnificent night at Old Trafford. Harry Maguire being sort of the hero. But it was last gasp sort of desperation stuff. Leon scored 4 at Old Trafford. And so there is a vulnerability about them. And there's a vulnerability about Tottenham when we get to them. And I think that it's the one thing, if you want a bit of hope, if you're an Athletic Club player or supporter, or indeed Ernesto Valverde, is that they have been vulnerable this season. And if there is that vulnerability, maybe Athletic Club can take advantage of it. It's unlikely. It's not quite the, who was it? Real Madrid and Arsenal was a sort of another one. And we're thinking, right,
are you grabbing your head?
No, not quite grabbing my head, but are we going to get a response from Real Madrid? We did not. In a sort of lesser terms, Europa League standard, are we going to get a response from Athletic Club? Again, we'll find out. But driving seat, Man United. And bearing in mind the season they've had, bearing in mind Ruben Amorim's job has already been talked about. Is he the man? Maybe this is too much for him. It's a big club, the system, all that. This is going to take an awful lot of pressure on if he can get to this final and win it.